true diva. I love it.
Oh, nice.
All right, so we're on, and now we're letting.
Okay. Mateo, you should do your your video voice.
So we're letting the attendees on.
Stunning.
See, now we're live and recording. We have people joining us. I'm so excited for this. Thank you, everyone. I apologize we had a little tech glitch, so I apologize, but we're all here and it's all good. And I'm just watching everybody sign on, which is awesome. Welcome, everyone, to our second Jewelry Confidants conversation. I'm so excited today to be here with Matthew Harris of MATEO and Tanika Wisdom of MATCHESFASHIon. You know, when people are like, we're so pumped. When we started this series, really the idea was to have two people come together who both love fashion, who are friends. First and foremost, this is about friendship. So it's two people who have worked together, who inspire one another. And it's almost like eavesdropping on your friends, and you want to know what they're talking about when they're not on Zoom. So what do? We made it awkward and put them on Zoom and asked them to share their insights into sort of their creative process, but also, again, their friendship. So without further ado, I will jump right in and introduce Matthew Harris of MATEO and Tanika Wisdom. So Matthew Harris was born in Montego Bay, Jamaica, the son of a seamstress. He arrived in the US at the age of 16 to attend Southern New Hampshire University to complete a Bachelor's of Science in Hospitality Management. However, he fell in love with jewelry and found his true calling, right? He is a self-taught designer, and he spent a lot of time in the jewelry district learning and perfecting his craft. After honing in on his craft, MATEO New York was launched in March of 2009. The brand began solely focused on men's jewelry. However, in 2014, he made a strategic decision to refocus the brand, and thus his women's fine jewelry line was launched. Following the elevated direction of the brand, there's been numerous growth, which has allowed MATEO to open his first Flagstore store in the heart of Soho, New York in December of 2016. He is also a 2017 CFDA Vogue Fashion Fund finalist. And he has received much accolades, and unfortunately, I cannot go through all of them, but guys, check out his website because he is brilliant. And I can't wait for you all to see his work if you don't already know it. And if you do, well, then you know what I'm talking about. Tanika Wisdom has graduated from the University of the Creative Arts with a BA in Fashion Management and Marketing. And she began her buying career as at the well-known boutique retailer Brown's Fashion, working across all categories before focusing in on her true passion, jewelry. In 2019, Tanika joined the MATCHESFASHIon team as a buyer for fine jewelry and accessories, and has overseen an expansion of their fine jewelry, introducing watches and collaborating closely with other brands. And if you don't know, although you should all know, MATCHESFASHIon started with a single shop in Wimbledon, UK over 30 years ago, and has grown into one of the biggest global destinations in online luxury for men and women, with a modern edit of over 450 established and new generation designers, delivering to over 176 countries. Whew. I am so honored to have you both here. And I will just ask one question and then I will hand it over to you. And this is how we start our Jewelry Confidant series. And that is, how did you two meet?
Do you want to tell?
Tanika, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll be, I'll make it nice. So I came across MATEO's work, I think it was on Instagram actually. It was his initial ring that instantly caught me to his work. And then I asked the team to set up an appointment in New York to see the collection. As I was on my way to MATEO during the New York Fashion Week, obviously running a little bit late, I was about 5 minutes late in the taxi, got out, pulled up in front of his beautiful store, and MATEO's face was like thunder. And as soon as I got in the door, he said, I was about to write to you and cancel. I was like, oh, okay. That's how we're starting. Interesting. And within about 10, 20 minutes, we just got on so well. Like we have the same dry sense of humor. So even before I fall in love with his collection, I fell in love with him, and I think we've been such great friends since. And yeah, so that's how we met, and we've kind of stayed friends since, and we've been working together ever since. So about 3 years maybe.
3 years now. 3 years, yeah. So a little bit of spiciness took us on this journey.
A little bit of
journey.
I love that story.
But no, I mean, when I met Tanika, I immediately fell in love. She's also, I mean, Jamaican, and I'm Jamaican, so there was this common, link or common thread. So, the bond just got even deeper and stronger, I guess, because of our Jamaican ties. And our humor, because our humor is quite wicked, I think. I mean, it's quite cutting.
Right.
Yeah, but sweet.
Right.
I mean, we're both sweet people, but our humor is quite, it's quite severe. And not everyone gets it. I'm an acquired taste, which I'm okay with now, the older I get. But it's always coming from a place of love. So should I start asking questions and we go back and forth?
Yeah,
All
absolutely.
right.
Let's dive in.
Tanika, why do you like jewelry? I'm going to start with that. And why is it, the career choice or the career path that you've taken?
Career path. Well, I suppose I got into it by someone else noticing my passion actually, which was quite interesting. So I was saying how I got into fine jewelry. So I started on the shop floor, which I think is actually the best place to start in this industry. I think it actually gives you a unique insight into customer behavior and feedback that you really just can't get from a spreadsheet. So I worked at Harvey Nichols for 7 years, part-time while studying, and really figuring out exactly what I wanted to do in terms of my career. So I secured an internship at Browns after my studies and was there for 5 years. And in that time, I worked across all categories at admin level. And then I worked solely across non-apparel as a junior buyer, where my boss at the time quickly realized that I actually had a true passion for fine jewelry. And she gave me the opportunity to take the department and make it my own, so to speak, which was incredibly rewarding. And so now here I am, I think at one of the most incredible online retailers and doing exactly what I love, which is buying fine jewelry. But I think it happened almost by accident, but it was kind of meant to be. I feel like fine jewelry is such a beast in itself. And I feel like when you're working with such incredible brands and other categories, I feel like sometimes it gets missed, and you really do need to have that true passion for it to understand it. And I think that it was amazing how someone kind of noticed my passion before I did. So that's how I got into it.
I think that's one of the reasons. Before I even get into my lifetime movie or lifetime story, I think that's why I really like working with you, because you have been on the sales floor, so you know what a customer wants, and not this stuffy girl who is some socialite who kind of landed the job and just knows luxury because you grew up in it. You were on the floor and you've been hands-on, and you laugh, but I've met a lot of buyers who they come with this air and they wanted to buy all these grand pieces that sits on a sales floor for years and it's on consignment, and as a young designer it's quite stifling. So I like that you know the floor, you know what the customer wants, you know how she's going to wear it and what she's going to wear it with, and you also know how to curate such an assortment of other brands that works well together, on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, that's
Thank
a little.
I'll pay you later.
That was like a little boost of the ego. Okay.
Thank you. But
I got into jewelry.
Yeah, and what did you do before you became a jewelry designer? And how?
I was a stripper. I'm joking. No.
I can imagine that.
This is why we do Jewelry Confidants. This is exactly the kind of information we want to know.
Tell me your name, Taya. What was your name?
Sapphire. My name was Sapphire. That would be my name. I got into jewelry right after, well, let me brush up the story. So when I moved to New York, I was modeling and I hated it. I didn't have control of my life. I didn't have control of my, my daily movements. It was waiting for an email to go to a casting, and I just hated that. I was taking the bus back from New York to DC, and I was reading a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. I never forgot it. And a stranger grabbed the book from me and gave me a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I know it sounds like a fairy tale story, but when the guy grabbed the book, I was like, hey, stranger, what are you doing? Yeah. He was like, no, you're going to thank me later. I never saw this guy again. He took my book from me, gave me the book Think and Grow Rich. I started reading this book, and the book changed my entire life.
That's amazing.
Wow.
I left Maryland because my sister still lives there. I left Maryland, moved to New York, and I was like, I'm going to get a job, and I'm going to be on my own, and I'm going to figure it out. When I told my mom I wanted to be a jewelry designer, she said, baby, come home. she said, come home. And I was like, no, I want to be a designer. Being Jamaican, you need to be a dentist, a doctor, a lawyer, like African families. Education is first, and you better get a proper career. Yeah. So the moment I said designer, she's like, baby, you need to come home, because that is it. The funding stops. So no, I started going to the jewelry district, really just to make jewelry for myself. And I was watching YouTube tutorials, and I made a small little collection. And my friend at the time was the manager for What Goes Around Comes Around in Soho. Mm-hmm. He was like, Matt, let's put some stuff in the store. So I put some jewelry in the store, and then Rihanna, stylist Mel Uttenberg, pulled the pieces, and that's literally how it started. It was an organic start. I didn't go to FIT or Parsons or anything like that. And I have a lot of scars to show for the jewelry making. So I have a tattoo covering up my hands from all the scars I got, trying to, run through a polishing machine, and the brush just scratching my entire skin off, as a label. But I enjoyed every last bit of it. And I guess I've had quite a quick rise, I guess, because I've always been lucky or fortunate that my taste and my aesthetic has, people understood it right away. I did men's first for years, and I sold to Nordstrom's, I sold to all these stores. Most people don't even know I had a TV show on HSN. I've been it's a long story, Bella.
Wait. Honestly, Bella, if I'm feeling upset or this, I watch it, and I'm being serious. I literally cry with laughter. It is the best thing you've ever seen in your whole entire life.
Is it on Netflix? How do we
find it? You could still find it on YouTube. It's quite embarrassing. And I have hair, number one. I have a Grace Jones high top with with my severe face, and I mean, it's quite funny.
We're gonna send a link with a follow-up to this. We're gonna find it.
I don't even want to see myself.
You think I'm a good saleswoman? Wait until you see this video.
I was literally a perfume saleswoman at Macy's.
Yeah.
So no, that's how I really started into jewelry. It was very organic, and I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, just trying to figure out how to operate in the space. As a designer, as being self-funded, as trying to play the fashion game, which I'm not good at. This is why I kind of stay away in my own little circle. Now I live in Texas. I'm not in New York or LA where it's like fashion people. And again, I'm also an acquired taste in terms of my personality. So I know where my boundaries can, just a little bit, or my personality could take me. But I love what I do. I just can't do anything else, In the book, Think and Grow Rich, it talks about finding that burning desire. This one thing you can't live without, and you eat and you breathe and you sleep it, and you burn every bridge behind you because you can't go back to something else. Jewelry making for me is it. So that's my Oprah story.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
See, from stripper to jewelry designer. Kidding, guys. All right. So my next question: what are you looking for in brands, or like what do you go out looking for each season?
I'd say a strong brand DNA and vision and a point of difference in this market in particular is really far and few between. So I'd say authenticity and a unique point of view is at the forefront of my decision making. And also jewelry is such an emotive purchase, I feel like, which is unique to the wearer. So I would definitely say that I always get an emotional feeling when I'm seeing truly great product. So I think it's almost like an instinct also. And I think it's really key as a buyer to keep an open mind. I think you don't go out with a shopping list as such before market in that sense. I think you're always looking for something new, something that catches your eye, something that you didn't even know you were thinking of before. So I think these are really key things. And I think, yeah, just nowadays, I think it's just such a saturated market that when you do truly see something special, you know, and it is very instinctive. And I think brands are just really true to themselves. They don't really watch what other people are doing. I think that's when you get a lot of diluted messages and a lot of crossovers. So I'd say, yeah, a very strong point of view and a DNA. I'd say are really, really important. Which I think you do great, actually. I think you're very organic in terms of, even I love when I go see something like there's no newness. I'm like, okay, great. Like there's no, like you don't force it. There's no, you know what I mean? You don't force something that's not, doesn't feel right to you. So I feel like when I do see something new from you, it really is new. So I think that's really, really key and really important, and that's something that I look for.
But I must say, every season I do feel pressure to create a new collection, and you know, every store writes, you know, what's new this season, and most times I'm not inspired. You know, I'm like really burnt out, and I don't want to throw another hoop on the market. I don't want to throw another Huggy on the market. You know, it's like you can go to, I don't know, Sears to buy a Huggy at this point. You know, there needs to be a point of difference. So I completely agree with you, and I try.
You do.
There's some designers who have one single ring and they kill it. So
that's true.
When you go out, you know, let's say one season you find nothing. What is the end game, or what is the move after that?
Never happened. Thankfully.
Really, you always find something.
Yeah, I think you always like. Maybe not even a showroom, but I think we're in such a great position in terms of technology and social media these days that you don't have to be a market to find something. You don't have to be in a showroom to see something. Okay. So I think word of mouth, obviously, but I just think even like you, I found you on Instagram, for instance. I didn't see you. You're not part of a showroom. You don't think yourself. But I've thankfully never been in that position where I generally haven't found anything that excites me. What would be the end game for that? Well, if you don't see it, you don't see it. You can't make it up. I can't make a collection myself. I can't, you know, it kind of would be what it is. But I thankfully haven't been in that position before. Yeah, so touch wood.
The reason I asked that question is because I know like some buyers, they immediately become designers during the appointment. Oh, why don't you put this or that? Why don't you do, you know, this is why I asked. And I always find it so funny when buyers become designers during the appointment. I'm looking at them like, well, like
okay, I must admit, guilty sometimes. I don't, I won't obviously I'm not gonna, if it's not there, it's not there. But if I think something would work more for me or for the company, you know, for my company, then of course I'll say. I think it's important for you guys as well. I think, you know, we want to have a great relationship in terms of sales. So I think it is key to also give your feedback. So if I think there's if we're doing well with something and you don't have it, if you could, that little tweaking, or I don't think there's anything wrong with that as such, but I know what you mean. I think there's sometimes you try and make something that just isn't there, and I think that's when it kind of loses its point of difference in its organic sense. But I think if you're just kind of trying to capitalize on something, I think that's fine, and I do that quite often.
I mean, I also love the feedback, because then I go back to, I mean, sometimes I email you like, what is doing well, you know, what stone, what color, what shape, because it really helps, you know, the whole design process a lot, because I'm not on the retail side, so to get that information is it's invaluable at this point. You want to ask me a question, or do I throw another question at you?
I would love that. Well, actually, I think just touching on me kind of telling everyone that you kind of own the process yourself, from design to wholesale, which I think must be very challenging. So what advice would you give to designers who are in the same position as you? And especially in this kind of day and age when you know, everything's by Zoom and they don't have maybe the support of showrooms, etc. What advice could you give to new brands?
Well, I like to start off with research. Do thorough research. Make sure that there is a blank space in the market.
Yeah.
I never jump and say, I'm fabulous, I'm a designer, take this. I never do that. I always come in to fill a void.
Yeah.
So when I sold the first collection to, I don't remember, Colette in Paris at the time, I knew they didn't have any jewelry that was personal jewelry at my affordable price point.
Okay.
And I showed the collection to Sarah. It was bought immediately. Not because the work was, I don't know, I don't think it was iconic, but I knew I was filling a void.
Right.
So I always tell designers that's the first step.
Okay.
Because there's a million designers out there. Why do I need you?
Yeah.
I mean, plain simple. And take your time. Everybody wants to be in every major door right away. I like to say, you know, I have a friend now who I mentor, and I say, one account each season. So that's how I have personally grown my business. This way I'm not pressured with line sheets. I'm not pressured with, you know, the million line sheets. And I'm not the best at responding to emails. So I'm always like,
a lot better, to be fair.
What's that?
You've got a lot better. I think I nearly fell off my chair the other day when you emailed back within 10 minutes. I was like, wow, that's.
I am trying.
I have a question for both
yes.
of you that you both just sort of touched upon, and especially Mateo, you said you're also mentoring someone right now. What is your advice, you know, with social media and with Instagram? I think a lot of designers, and to your point, Tanika, you said, you know, not everyone's in a showroom, obviously. What would you say, like, do you have any recommendations on how to get noticed? So what is especially on social? So what is the advice that you've been, you know, that you would say you would give, or how do you maybe use social, and how do you find the jewelry? And Mateo, to you, since you're mentoring someone also, what advice are you giving that person? Like, how should they get noticed?
I don't know about get noticed, but the advice I would give is sometimes when brands reach out to put forward their collection or their lookbook, I would say, think first, is this the right partner for you? Like, can you genuinely see your product on this space? Don't just go to them because they're a great retailer or because you need accounts. I would say genuinely think first. Like, can I see myself living here? Do they have brands that maybe offer similarities, or what is the point of difference? Because I think that when a buyer or assistant, whoever works on that team sees that product, I think unless they get like an initial, oh wow, or that's something different or something unique, I feel like, you know, you're just going to miss out on an opportunity. So I think first. I think don't just send it out to all your majors, like kind of what Mateo kind of touched on. Does it have a point of difference to what they have? Do you need to be there? Do they need you? And in terms of kind of getting your name out there, I don't know, like I'm just kind of always on Instagram searching for newness, and I look at other people's accounts, like what they're following, and I get suggestions as well. And also word of mouth is great. So I'd say kind of relationships are really important too. So reach out to brands. You know, if you're I know Mateo, you were mentoring someone who I'm now in contact with. So I'm in contact with this person through you. So I think make relationships with people. And yeah, word of mouth is, I think, integral in this business.
Yeah. For social, I think you have to have a clear message and then present it clearly on your social media. You can't have, I don't know, you know, Tom, Dick, and Harry in the piece, and then the next time it's in another form, in another, you know, like my Instagram is now strategic. I'm not getting a million likes, but I know the message I'm trying to convey. I have 5 formulas on my Instagram. There's a product shot on plain white background. There's a product shot in my hand. There is news. There is celebrity. And I think I show my face randomly every now and then, because the customers, they want to get to know you personally. Me, you know, in hindsight, I want to just hide under a rock and make jewelry, or be in Jamaica under a coconut tree and, you know, catching fish. But I've learned the importance of sometimes showing my face or speaking, you know, to the customer, because they truly want to get to know you. And when I had my store, I saw that. And for someone who is somewhat of an introvert, believe it or not, it was difficult for me to show up every day and be on. So that was a challenge for me, having the store. But people want to get to know the designers. How else to get noticed? I think it's hard, because once you start being quite calculating with the message, then it becomes so stifled. It doesn't work. When I met Ava Chen over at Instagram, she was like, Matt, just post anything. Whatever you feel, just post it. Because it's content, and we live in a society where everybody just wants to see content. What's new? What's next? And show the process of making the jewelry. Sometimes I sketch when I have time. I have a little hand stand and a light ring that I do videos with, and I edit it on my phone and I post it on my page. You know, people like to see stuff like that. How else to get noticed is to email editors from magazines. You know, I don't have a PR agency. I write everyone a handwritten note sometimes, and I say thank you, or I'll say, hey, here's a collection. You know, I put 3 to 5 images in that email the editor. And you can find this information. It's easy. You go to Barnes and Noble and you buy 5 magazines. There's a masthead page. You look the name of the editor, the accessory editor, the market editor, the jewelry editor, and you see the formula of how their emails are written. And I follow that formula and I email the editor. Oftentimes they respond. Oftentimes, you know, they respond 2 months later, but they remembered your name. You know, it's about getting the word out and building the relationship. I also gift my editors, you know, small little tokens, and then I write a little handwritten note. You know, no one does that anymore. No one is writing handwritten notes. So for me, that has helped me a lot, especially with my press. And COVID was such a blessing for me, because I had time to really reel it back in, strategize, and just had time to build real relationships again with people in fashion and just in the jewelry world.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Okay.
Bella, you're so cute.
Okay. No, because you guys, because you're both saying the same thing, right? It's about building those relationships. I mean, that's essentially, and again, like, not to, you know, that's kind of what this is about too, right? And like, that's the beautiful thing is, when you establish those relationships within the industry, you know, and I think jewelry is so personal, right? So it really becomes this really beautiful, fluid conversation, you know, between the people that you're working with. So I'm going to continue you guys asking questions. I just really wanted, someone had asked and I thought it was a good question, but that's it. I will hand it back over to you two.
All right, let me see. Tanika, let me ask you this question. What is a great piece of jewelry advice, and what's a great piece of advice you have for a jewelry designer who is trying to break into the luxury market? And we already said have a DNA or a point of view. What else? Because it's not just, you know, having a point of view. There's so much more. I think the way you present yourself also in person as well helps.
I'd say always remember what inspired you.
Okay.
Creating jewelry in the first place. And I say to make sure that your decision making has that at its forefront, because I feel like that sometimes gets missed, not just within this industry, and a lot, you know, in everyone's decision makings. I feel like we forget why we started something. So we kind of go off in a tangent, and perhaps we prioritize other things that we shouldn't. I'd say remain individual. I think do things differently. So if it works for you, I think when I was watching Marla and Beth's New York City week, I found it really interesting that they both said that when they first started out, they were the new kids on the block, and they were told all the time, you know, you should do it this way, or, you know, this is not how the industry does it, or, you know, you have to have peace on consignment. And they said, no, actually that doesn't work for me. That's not how I think good business is done. I don't think that that's fair. So they completely did it their own way. So I'd say be true to yourself as well. Like, don't just kind of follow the crowd. And I'd say be human. I think this is such a small industry. Just treat people how you like to be treated. I think that was very good advice that was given to me very, very early on. And I think that kind of always comes back to you in a really positive way. So even if I go, like you said, Mateo, that you're your connection with someone, or your first instinct or your first meeting with someone really does stick with you. So if I go to see something and perhaps the collection wasn't quite right then, if I remember that person as being kind and nice and passionate about their product, I would more than likely go and see them again. Whereas if I had experience with them, I probably wouldn't so much. So I think that that's probably really, really important. And that's, I think, advice that I would give to young designers. So it's not just about the aesthetic of your brand, it's also about you and how you portray yourself and how you treat others. And just remembering exactly why you started it in the first place. And just be true to kind of what you want from it and how you want to portray your brand too, I would say.
All right. That was a good TED Talk. That was a very good TED Talk. Bella, I think that was my last question. I mean, should we take some questions, some question Q&A? Yeah.
It's up. Do you guys want to? So there was one question, which I know was also something that you had planned, and that was, how important is sustainability to both of you? So I think that's the one question. And I know you had it as well, Mateo. So
it's not sustainability in the sense of the environment per se, but sustainability in terms of the business sense, because the jewelry world is so heavily consigned. How do you recommend maintaining a healthy and a sustainable and a successful wholesale business? Tanika, that's your question.
Successful habit. Well, I'd say, Matches, we strategize daily. So they always focused on the lifestyle of our female customer, and our customer muses, like, this hasn't changed. So I'd say our approach is to consider our woman. So we have muses, so the romantic, the fashion pioneer, the purist, the warrior, the free spirit, and the creator, and think about who she is, what she's doing, what she might want or need, and the best product to empower her. And I'd say we've always kind of looked at lifestyle, and now it's about adapting to her present circumstances and offering beautiful pieces that would appeal, whether it's to wear every day with a piece of cashmere or something more special for an occasion. And what we find is our customers inspired by our designers that have a unique and original DNA, which I've already touched on quite a lot. I'd say our customer enjoys the journey of discovery. So they're looking for luxurious pieces that have an interesting provenance, and they're really interested in the artistry and the craftsmanship that goes into creating collections. And I say we're always looking for great product and also unique items that our customers wouldn't find elsewhere. So that's what I would say, in my point, from a merchandise point of view, makes for a successful brand or a healthy business. So that kind of,
yeah.
You gave me an answer from the retail side, so I get it. But what do you mean? See,
he's going to put you on the spot now. I'm just joking.
No, it's because she's answered me from a retail point of view, but for young designers who don't necessarily have the funding, how can they wholesale and survive?
What do you mean? That's not about funding. It's about having something. I think it goes back to what I said. So make sure you research the retailer that you're putting forward your pieces to. So on the flip side, if you came to me, you'd obviously search Matches, you look on our brand remit, you'd say, okay, does this fit in here? Does it offer something different? Can I tell a story? Do I understand their customer? So I think you have to think about it from a retail standpoint when you're a brand also. It's not just about the branding, it's about the customer, it is about the wholesale side of it. So I think I'd still stick with the advice I gave, I think, in terms of merchandising.
So
but I know by your face you're still missing something.
Oh wait, where did you go?
I'm here.
He was unhappy. Oh no, we just lost him. I was going to say he was unhappy with that answer. No.
He always does this. Until he gets the answer he wants.
Exactly. He's like, I'm not.
He's gone.
He's gone. He'll be. There he is.
I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on.
No, it's okay. We can hear you. We're glad you're back.
I'm still here. So sorry.
No.
I always get this question from a lot of young designers, and I get so many messages in my Instagram, and I can never respond to the plethora of the ones I receive. A lot of people are scared to wholesale. So I guess maybe I should answer that question myself, I guess. How to sustainably and sustainably grow a wholesale business. Again, it comes back to taking your time and just doing one account at a time. Don't overburden yourself with consignment accounts if you're not in the position to take on such a burden. And then also make sure your assortment is right. For myself, I do 5 editorial pieces each season, but the majority are pieces that people want to wear daily. And I know it's going to sell. I know the sell-through are going to be great. So that's how I run my wholesale side of the business. And, I try to nudge the buyers a little bit how they're buying, because I don't want to end up with all this super high-end pieces sitting down on the sales floor, and I'm here waiting for something to sell to get paid, So I try to, again, have the right relationship with my buyers to be able to grow the business sustainably and healthy. So I guess, Tanika, that question was not for you. I guess it was for me.
Yeah.
And how to explain. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So I know that we are also pressed a little bit for time. So I just want to be mindful of that.
Okay.
So do you feel comfortable asking one more question, or how do you both?
We could take questions. We could take questions from viewers.
Tanika, how do you? Okay. So we have one of the questions, and I think I'm just sort of going through them. What do you think of products that are one of a kind, meaning a collection that has only one piece and not produced in multiple quantities? What do you guys think about that? Have you often,
I love one of a kind pieces. I think they offer something truly special and unique. I'd say from a wholesale standpoint, it really does. It kind of gets tricky when the price point's maybe on the lower end, because obviously it has to make sense from a business standpoint also. So if you have one of a kind pieces that are 5,000 upwards, fair enough, it can make sense in terms of your margins, etc. But if it's kind of on the lower retail price point, from a business standpoint, it wouldn't make sense. But from a product standpoint, I think one of a kinds are incredible, and we sell them really, really well at Matches actually. So it does work for us.
I rarely do one of a kinds because, again, I'm not in the space where I'm selling high jewelry. Mm-hmm. So the pieces aren't over $10,000, and I have to eat. I have bills. Mm-hmm. So I make commercial stuff that I can sell. So you have to choose your battle. You have to choose where you want to sit in the market. But I do love one of a kinds. For my business, it just doesn't work.
Yeah. You guys I know we can keep doing this forever. Is there anything else that you wanted to ask each other that we didn't get a chance to before we wrap up?
No, I think, Tanika, tell me.
I'm trying to think of something really.
Just going to put you on the spot now.
I know I can't. No, I don't think there is. No, there's nothing else from the audience. I'm happy to answer something else. We had another question from the audience, and it was asked: do you advise that jewelers reach out to stylists and photographers to use their pieces in shoots directly?
Not photographers, but I definitely would contact stylists. I work with a lot of stylists in New York and in LA. Not even a lot. It's really one little circle of stylists who tend to have the top celebrities. It's about 10 of them: Christina Ehrlich, Law Roach, Zarina Akers, Wayman, Kyla Welsh. But write them. People are always looking for newness. Every season it's the world we live in. There's always what's next. So always reach out to stylists and send handwritten notes, send short emails. No one has the time for a paragraph or two or a book. Tanika knows. Send I mean, reach out to people. Goes a
Yeah.
very, very long way. And stylist is the cheapest publicity you'll ever get.
Why not photographers then?
Go ahead.
Why do you not?
They're not pulling. They're not dressing the talent. Just make it's pointless. It doesn't work. I've tried years ago. It just doesn't work. You need to go through the stylist.
And Tanika, what about for you? When I'm sure, you know, a buyer, it's like you have this really sacred position. What would you like to see when designers reach out to you? What would you say, like, you know, so that it's easy for you?
I would say that if you, for me, it's really hard when you get a line shoot through and there's literally 300 pages, because to me, it just your message kind of gets lost. So I would say when you're sending through things to buyers, just make it really clear and really concise who you are, what you stand for, what your branding is, what your brand identity is, and then send through pieces that are really true to you. Like, I want to understand it straight away. I want to understand what your brand is. So I think just really clear and concise, and not too much, I'd say. That's what I would.
Awesome. Thank you both so very, very much. This has been incredible. It's, as I said, such an honor to speak to you both today. Also, what I love, you know, that this, you know, unfortunately, I think because we aren't able to travel, what has been really nice is that we can connect this way. And so to speak to you, Tanika, today from London, and to you, Mateo, from, you know, Houston, it's just so wonderful. Because, you know, we can be anywhere, right? And so this, our friendship and our, you know, both professional and personal relationships have really had the opportunity, I think, to flourish. So thank you both so much. It's been lovely to, you know, hear you and to get insight into both of your worlds. And we can't thank you enough. So
virtual hug.
Virtual hug. Yeah, absolutely. That's the way to do it these days, right? So thank you all so very much. And thank you to all of our participants for joining and for all those really great questions. And if you have others, send them in and we'll be happy to, you know, send them to Tanika and Mateo. And to both of you, thank you for your time. We really appreciate it. There's another Jewelry Confidants coming up in 2 weeks, Tuesday at 12 p.m. We'll be sending an email about that shortly. And thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Bella. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.